Right, Adam, thank you so much for meeting me for a coffee. Actually, meeting me for a burger. This is your mate's spot, isn't it?
Yeah, it's my mate Stu's burger place called Black Bear Burger. Best burgers in town for sure. And yeah, he kindly let us use the space to shoot in. Yeah. And yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited to kind of chat shop and tell you a bit of like information that I can help anyone out there that's trying to kind of get in this game. And yeah, it's interesting. I've wanted to do some more kind of podcasts and talks. I just done a talk for Soho Farmhouse about 2 weeks ago, and that was really good fun. And I feel like I've got this sort of momentum now of like getting out there and kind of talking a bit more and giving any like knowledge and industry tips about kind of what we do.
Yeah, no, it's great. And you were super helpful, just saying, yeah, straight off the bat, you were down straight away for the video. So, because we met first of all, I was assisting one of the lads, Dyer, with a shoot. It wasn't around here. It was around more kind of central London. It was nice, kind of on the street, kind of fashiony shoot, and that's where we met. And yeah, it was great.
Yeah, it was good fun. Although that day I think we were shooting spring summer and it was snowing.
Yeah, it was super cold.
And it was like raining like mad. Again, just like the pitfalls of this job. It's not always as straightforward as it normally seems and looks.
Yeah, because it was a short day as well, because the light was dipping super quick. Yeah, I remember that.
Very short day. I think it was pitch black by like 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
Half 4.
Yeah.
And it was raining most of the day, so yeah, we had it against us, but we got it done.
Yeah. Sure, that shows the skills you built up over the years. So, talking about years, you've been in the game 15 years now at this stage.
Yeah.
Well, close on 15.
Yeah.
And obviously there's a lot of learnings and stuff, but like maybe introduce what you've done over those 15 years to someone that doesn't know or familiar with your work.
Yeah, so my name's Adam Fussell. I'm a photographer and director. I'm from London, but I now live up in Yorkshire with my son and my wife. I've been on the path to be like a fashion lifestyle photographer 15 years, and I feel like I'm still on the path to try and be and do that. Always kind of like pushing the next thing and never kind of sitting on my laurels and keeping moving basically. That's what I love about this job, is that it's so fast paced. You never know where and what you're going to be, and just keep moving. And so I started actually out at university. I was at university wanting to be an illustrator, and my mates were doing photography on the same course as me, which was visual communication. And they were getting their jobs done so much quicker than me, and they were like not like cooped up in their room the whole time. So I picked up a camera and really enjoyed the process of taking pictures and just used it as a tool, more like thinking photography was just its own thing. Like it's a tool to create things, and instead of using maybe charcoal to kind of create an image, I was using a camera to kind of compose and make things happen in front of an image. I was always interested in about making an image opposed to like capturing an image. For me, it's not about moments; it's about kind of creating. A camera for me is like it's a tool to create art, basically. When I was at school, I just wanted to do art. I didn't know what that meant either, but I just liked creating things. And throughout the process of doing my art foundation and going into illustration, I realised that I just love creating things, and the camera was the way that I could kind of be out there connecting with other people in the world and creating imagery. I love it. And there's so many elements to photography, like obviously it's all about lighting, but then it's about what you put in front of that camera and the way you use that camera, lenses, composition. It offered so many interesting things to kind of learn and play, where illustration was very much it's very insular. You're kind of locked away in a room and kind of working on this craft, and you could spend days or weeks on a piece and you could kind of go, I don't quite like that in the end. Where photography is very fast paced, and I'm very much of that kind of nature. I like things to be quick. I love working in 1 week, maybe in 2 countries on different projects, and one might be for a car brand, one might be for a fashion brand. It keeps me invigorated, excited, and things are fresh. So I love this world and the doors it's opened up to to do in this kind of crazy world and lifestyle.
So you were illustrating, then you picked up the camera and you were running with that for a while. And at what point did you make a leap, or was it more of a gradual working a normal job, maybe, I'm not too sure, and then slowly turn into, okay, most of my income is now coming from photos?
So what happened, I got interested in fashion photography at uni, and then one of the girls from my university course asked me to shoot her lookbook. And basically after that, pretty much all the girls asked me to shoot their fashion lookbooks, and I kind of fell into the fashion world very quickly. And I was like, oh, this is really cool. I loved that. And then I got in touch with a fashion photographer and basically hounded him for about 3 months to let me come on set and shadow him. And eventually that happened in a place called Spring Studios, which is it was like the swankiest studio in London at the time. And I think it was for Elle magazine or something like that. And I walked into the studio and it looked like a 5-star hotel lobby. And I was like, what is this world? And I walked into this huge studio with like a ping pong table, like amazing studio. And I had no idea that this world existed. Saw all these lights that I'd never seen before, because at university we had a couple of ripped Colorama backdrops in a dungeon, basically, with some lights that were rigged to like the ceiling. And yeah, I was like a fish out of water, but I come out of that day and yeah, the penny had dropped for me. I just said, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. So I assisted that photographer for as long as I could, really. And then after a while, he started paying me. And one thing leads to another. You meet people in the industry, and I started working with other photographers. And then I met the nephew of a photographer called John T. Davies, who was like the guy that I worked with for about 4 years and traveled all over the world with him. Incredible guy, amazing photographer, knew so much about kind of light and what he was doing. I was just in awe of what he could do. So I assisted him for 4 years, and there was us 3 assistants basically that went all around the world with him. We had like the most fun ever, and yeah, got to shoot loads of cool projects with him, assisting him and learning so much. And after about 4 or 5 years of assisting, I basically said I was going to go cold turkey. I said on the 1st of Jan, I can't remember what year it was now, but I said I'm never going to assist again after this year. And lo and behold, a week later, someone asked me, I think John T asked me if I could go to the Caribbean for a job for a week. And I said no. And I still feel like to this day, like that was the biggest turning point in my career. It was so easy to say yes to that job, and I needed that money. But there's always going to be that next job and the next thing. So I said no, and yeah, it was super tough. I remember being at home, basically not even doing anything, and just seeing my mates in the Caribbean, earning money, living the life. But I knew if I wanted to be a photographer, I had to kind of make a move and kind of change things up, and just start taking pictures basically and make that progression happen. So I started basically in my parents' garden, hanging up a white bedsheet and shooting model tests in my parents' garden. Model tests for free, just trying to build up a book. And I made lots of mistakes, like shooting JPEG only on my camera, which again, like I'm glad I made that mistake then, because I've never done that since. I think, you have to make mistakes. So shoot as much as you can and learn from those mistakes. Like every shoot you do, like even if you've done a good job, you might go, I should have done that slightly differently when you kind of look back at a shoot. So I think you're always learning, making small mistakes. I done that for, I don't know, a good few years. I was just like shooting model tests and trying to get any commercial work I could. Barely made any money. Luckily my parents, we lived in North London. They were letting me stay there, and they really supported me and kind of like trust the process that I would hopefully get to where I wanted to be one day. So I was very lucky in that sense. But yeah, I just grafted and shot as much as possible. And I shot anything and everything. Learnt the craft, and I loved it.
What age would you have been, like when you were going through that grafting period? really putting the...
About 21, maybe. Well, no. When I kind of stopped assisting, I think I was about 27 actually. That's kind of when I was like, I need to kind of start doing this. And I kind of had this idea in my head that when I was 30, I needed to have my stuff together, my shit together, but you never do. And you're still so young then. But I had kind of worked to a point where I slowly built up some clients that were new brands or new clients, and after working with them for like X amount of years, their brand started to grow and budgets would start to grow. So sometimes it would start off just me being there with a camera and maybe a little light or two to try and achieve what they wanted to achieve. And then after I don't know, 2, 3, 5 years, we then would have production vehicles, I'd have a Digitech, 2 lighting assistants, and things would grow. So I think working with new brands was an amazing way to kind of start the process, because you're learning, they're learning, and it was a great way to kind of get to grips with working in that commercial world. Even though I knew how to kind of work in the world after assisting John T for all those years, it's all well and good watching it from the sideline, but doing it yourself is a very different thing, because being a photographer is basically, most of your job is problem solving. And pretty much every shoot you go on, there's something that's wrong, or you need to, I don't know, solve some kind of problem. Like even last week's shoot, we were shooting in a very low ceiling room and we had to shoot some portraits, and it's how you can rig the light up so it looks how you want it to without having the space to. And again, like making shitty rigs that don't exist and just like hanging stuff up in weird ways to make things happen. And again, that's where now I have like an amazing team of guys that I work with, and it's great. It's very much a team sport. I was saying to a friend earlier that basically I think photography is very much an insular game, like it's all about you. But when it comes to commercial photography, it's very much a team sport, and you need to be a team player and have a team around you that are there to help you and enable you to do the best work. I loved chatting to my Digitech and having a conversation with them while I'm shooting. Like they might say, the new angle you've just chose isn't as good as where you was before. Let's go back there. And I love that kind of conversational way of working. Again, it's not about me as a photographer. We're there to get a job done. Sorry, I diverged a little bit there, but that's kind of what happens and where my mind goes. And
Okay. And when you were starting out, like you mentioned with the brands, your team obviously grows with you throughout that. So were you kind of working with stylists during the tests and working with MUAs and hair artists during the tests? And have any of those people still stayed with you, or as you've encountered more like demanding shoots, do you need to pull in better people?
Yeah, good question. So,
because like it seems like you're only as good as really your team.
100%, 100%. Yeah. And I think sometimes it can only take one bad egg to kind of like let that whole team down. So you need to really make sure your team are on point. And so for example, when I first started shooting all these model tests, I was mainly shooting women's wear, and half the time I would work with assistants, stylists that were trying to do the same thing, and hair and makeup stylists pulling in favours, and we were just grafting and trying to make things happen. And a lot of those people I still work with today, like a makeup artist, Laura Dexter, I worked with years ago on some tests, and then she was with me on a commercial project I brought her out to in South Africa beginning of this year. So I always use those people whenever I can. And then Holly McNaughton, who was a menswear stylist and actually worked as the fashion editor at the magazine Gents Journal, she got in touch and asked me if I'd shoot a menswear story up in Scotland with her. And I'd never really shot menswear, to be honest. And that basically changed my career and the direction my whole career went in. Just from one email, one shoot. And again, I always try and work with Holly whenever I can on any shoots. I love Holly, she's an amazing stylist. And yeah, it's crazy to think that was on the second issue of the Gents Journal magazine. And I think I just shot a cover of, I think it's their 48th issue that's just come out. And I've pretty much shot something for pretty much every issue they've ever put out. And again, that just goes to show us like the relationships you have with these clients and brands goes such a long way. And I've got to do the most incredible things with this this magazine, and I'm forever grateful for everything I've done with them. Like we've gone to private jets, out to Cannes Film Festival, we've shot Jason Momoa, we've shot like loads of interesting, amazing people. Last week we shot Dyer. It's always fun, it's always different, and it's incredible what those relationships can do. And again, like that was a new magazine starting out and going on that journey with them, and to being in the place we are now where we have access to the biggest talent in the world. It's amazing. And going back to your point of working with the teams, I try and keep my team as personable as possible. I love working with teams that I've been with for a long time, like my Digitech Sam. I think we've shot together for like 8 years now. And we just have, he's like a little brother to me. Like we wind each other up. We have a great time on set, but when it comes to doing the job, he's the second pair of eyes for me. Like he's telling me everything I need to know. I've used other Digitechs in the past, and again, it's not a fault of theirs, but they might see some problems wrong and might tell me after a shot, I thought this was a little bit funny, but they don't have the confidence to kind of come forward and talk throughout the shoot. I'm very much a team player. I love working with a team and letting my lighting guys kind of come in with ideas. I'm always telling them, like, if you see or think of anything, let me know, like, please, because the better job we can do as a team, the better end result we're going to put out, and then the more jobs we're going to do as a team, and the more amazing things we're going to get to do and travel, and you're only as good as your last job, I say, as well. So it doesn't matter what job I'm doing, I always want to kind of outdo what I've done before.
Because it's funny, because now with kind of the newer age of stuff coming into play, we all of a sudden have like a new person on set, but it's not necessarily on the call sheet, which is AI, which is helping with pre-production. You were saying even with this shoot last week, they used it to kind of scamp up a few shot ideas. So like, how do you use AI, and how do you like utilize it within your workflow?
I'm utilising AI mainly in pre-production at the moment. That's the main source of time saving it's helping with, and kind of just, it really helps with just tidying up and like finishing ideas. I think it still needs you to kind of have the idea and input in everything you want. But for example, putting together a call sheet, a shoot schedule, I don't do this on a lot of projects, but anything that I'm directing is super helpful with that, because I'm quite a messy note taker and idea jotter. So I just put everything into there, and it's a nice way of like easily presenting what you need to do in pre-production. But also, like you said, I just started using AI to kind of mock up some ideas and images that I'm thinking of doing. So like last week, we shot Dyer for the Gents Journal magazine, and it was the Mandarin Oriental. And I kind of had this idea in my head. I wanted Danny on the steps of the Mandarin Oriental with the two doormen either side, one with an umbrella over his head and the other one's lighting a cigar. And it gave me back the first image with very little prompt, and it looked great, but it was shot from like a side-on angle, from a low angle, and I hadn't actually thought of that angle in my head, but it made me rethink, like, oh, yeah, that would be an interesting way of seeing that. And then when it actually came to the shoot day, I kind of scrapped the idea to a degree, as we had this car out the front, and my family British Bulldog in the front of the car, and it was Danny walking down the steps and kind of greeting the Bulldog, and then sat in the car in front of the Mandarin Oriental and the doorman in the back. But it was a great tool for kind of going through the process and visualizing some ideas and seeing what they might actually look like.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how long and how far we are from having like realistic enough images that people are going to want to use. I think especially with talent, people are going to want the real McCoy.
Yeah.
But when it comes down to like models, I think that could be quite, that's going to be a very different world. But to go back to your point, and another tool I use with AI is the Capture One retouch sliders, which I was just speaking to you earlier and saying how I use them as I tether. So as soon as an image comes in, especially when you're shooting talent, they can then see themselves in the best light. The whites of their eyes are just lifted a little bit, any dark circles under their eyes are just lifted, and they look great. And then once they see the image, they're super excited and happy about how that looks, and they're going to want to give you even more and like work harder for you. So yeah, it's just tools that are like enhancing and enabling you to do the best job possible. Because anything that with retouching, I can't stand retouching, to be honest. I used to do a lot when I was starting out because I had to, but if I can avoid retouching at all costs, that's music to my ears. And there obviously always are going to be projects where you're going to have to outsource those images to a retoucher, but for most of my clients and most of my jobs, I can pretty much finish an image in Capture One now, which is incredible.
And you were kind of mentioning earlier on, off the back of that, like your process, you try and have it that the photographs are pretty much like 90% there by the time you leave set.
Yeah.
You know, just to kind of, so like maybe tell us a little about the workflow. So like on the post or like during the shot, the shoot, and then post-production. Because I think that's a really interesting point, how quick you actually get that out the door and you're thinking about the next one, you know?
Yeah, so for me, the process, I try and simplify it as much as possible. Like we were saying earlier, like removing any other tools that, or programs that I might have to go to. With Capture One's latest update, it's enabled me to kind of keep everything under one roof and basically output and deliver to the client so quickly. So the process is really simple. I shoot tethered. We'll do a test shot with the guys beforehand. I'll kind of get my grade into a point. And basically I have some kind of base grades that I have that I will tweak on set, get them to where I'm happy on a shoot day, get the model on set, take a picture, kind of adjust the sliders for the retouch as just so it looks supernatural but just fresh. And from then, everything I shoot looks basically, it's 90% finished, sometimes 100% almost. So the client can see the finished product straight away. And then when we finish the shoot, or even at lunch normally, what will happen, I'll take a little break from seeing the screen, go back to the screen, look at the image again. Sometimes I might be like, it's just a bit too magenta, this image. I might just regrade everything. But normally the second time I've viewed something, I'm pretty much 100% happy with where it's at. And then from there, we'll process out high-res JPEGs that I normally run through JPEG Mini after, which I love. Just it allows me to just give clients high-res full images that are compressed file sizes that are like 1/5 the size. Manageable for them because most clients have laptops that are so old and useless and can't run. They moan about having files that they can't open. So that kind of takes away that element of them worrying about file size, but they've still got the real McCoy there, and it works perfect. And then I'll upload normally to like a Pixie-set gallery, which is a great way of just like showcasing the work to a client. I love WeTransfer, but Pixie-set offers it's so much quicker, so much on the fly. A client can pull their phone out, open the link and look at the one image they want to look at. instead of trying to download this like four gigs of whatever to see one image. It just makes the whole process super easy, and yeah, people love it. It's just, and that's my workflow from there to there, and then I get home, I back up onto a fast 12 terabyte RAID, and then from there I have, that then backs up onto two slow 5 terabyte like slower hard drives, and that's kind of my workflow system. One goes off site and then one stays on site. That's my system basically. Yeah, it's super easy, and again, once I put the stuff onto my RAID, that's all automated anyway, so it just makes the whole process as seamless as possible. Yeah, because when you're dealing with so many files and so much data, you need to make it as streamlined and as minimal as possible, especially when you have new digis working with you, new people in your team, they don't understand what's going on. It just makes it so easy, and especially if you're back-to-back shoots and you might have, I don't know, 5-6 shoots, to have that off-site, offloaded, and knowing that that's all doing that automatically, it's safe.
That's super interesting though about the workflow, because like that's stuff you don't hear about though. You know, it's the workflow stuff. You made that workflow up over your 15 years, you know? And the amount of trial and error, the amount of missing files that's kind of gone into that.
There's been a few hairy moments. I've been running around my office thinking that a file's been lost, and we've had it. I've never lost anything, touch wood.
There you go.
But again, that's because we back up lots of times, and again, it can be a simple renaming issue. The way you can't find a project, but yeah, I've had those very scary moments, and it's just taught me that I need to have that dialed in as good as possible. One tip I would give that is kind of my favorite tip that I have. So what I do on my RAID, I'll have the year and then the month. So like the first, and then within that I'll have like each session will be in that folder until it fills up 5 terabytes basically, and then I'll go to like folder number 2, and that'll be another 5 terabytes of work. And what I do, I copy all those folders, put them into TextEdit, and then I copy them from there and I put them into Apple Notes, and then in Apple Notes I have my hard drive archive. So it's all searchable. If I'm trying to find a project, I know it's on this drive that's called this. And then also within Apple Notes, what you can do now, you can highlight the name of the job and then link it to any notes that I've had about fees, mood board, lighting lists, call sheets. So then everything's logged and like kept together. It's kind of like what Notion does, but Notion's too faffy for me. I just, again, anything as like minimal as possible I love, and again, it's just works seamlessly across all my devices. It's just like easy. I've tried all these fancy things, and sometimes it's a bit too much overkill. Like, just keep things simple and have a really like dialed process from beginning to end. And like another thing that I normally do as well is sometimes file names can get a bit messy, so like at the end of the day, if I get home, I'll just batch rename the whole shoot, just so I know everything's the way it should be, and then process out from there.
Because I was going to say, like, one of kind of the unnoticed skills that the Digitech has, and it's a safety net that a photographer has as well, is the renaming of the files as they come in. So when you come home, you're completely organized and you know where everything is, and it's all like named perfectly, so you can see if there's a file gone missing because there's a missing number in that sequence, like, you know. So that's kind of like an underrated skill that the Digi does provide, like, you know, apart from all the screens and all the iPads and everything.
Honestly,
it's like that peace of mind is great.
Yeah, having peace of mind, having a Digi that knows that you fully trust and you know has those files in 3 places at all time, basically. Because you never know what's going to happen. Going back to test shooting, I bought a brand new iMac and I took it on a test shoot I done, and I didn't have a backup drive in. Well, I had a backup drive in, but I hadn't been backing up like as we were shooting, and the MacBook, this brand new iMac, just died halfway through the shoot. Just wouldn't turn on. And I ended up having to go to Apple that day, and they're like, oh, you'll have to come see a Genius bar or whatever next week. I said, they weren't, but I said, these images are going for print for a magazine cover today or tonight, you need to get these images off here now. And luckily they got the images off there and then. Again, that was a test shoot I done. Taught me lessons about how you need to have stuff backed up. You never know when a laptop can go pop. You never know when a hard drive can go pop. Having a digi that knows that and looks after all that information and makes sure everything's filed properly. Searching for a file is so much easier when everything's properly searchable. Because like we might be on a job, I don't know, on a boat in the Caribbean, and someone's like, oh, we need this file. We've just decided to change the cover today and it's going to print tomorrow. Can we actually have this version? And you can log onto your NAS, pull out a file number super easily.
Just type it in,
Yeah, type it in, it's there. But if the file structure is off, trying to find that can take forever. Yeah.
Hey Adam, thank you so much for sitting down, taking the time out of your day, walking through all those images as well. Really cool to hear all the backgrounds on how they were shot and the stories that come with them and the memories that were made during them, you know? It's really cool. You mentioned when we were sitting down eating our lovely burger that you're working on a few presets. Do you want to say a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so I've been working on this idea of kind of putting out some, like, I call them like base looks. They're not like one-click presets, but like base looks, just to help people kind of get their images to kind of feel that bit more kind of like finished and kind of premium looking. Yeah, I've basically spent the past 10, 15 years in Capture One, and I kind of know what I'm doing in there now. And I have like a few base presets in there that kind of help me develop the look and get to where I want to be super quick on set. So yeah, I think I've got my first pack coming out soonish where I've got kind of 4 base presets that again, I will kind of make a video about, just kind of help show you how you can tweak and use those to kind of get the look and feel you want. There's never one click is like the finished product. So like, you know, on set as a digi, things always change. Like even if a model comes out in a black t-shirt compared to a white t-shirt, the difference that makes is enormous. And I think people don't really realize that. So yeah, given the tool, like I'm gonna put this product out there just to kind of give the base tool to try and help get the color in a realm of somewhere that kind of looks like a more of a finished article. And just a way you can help kind of start really creating and playing and giving yourself a good kind of rich, contrasty base that isn't actually contrast, but more about kind of, yeah, richness without it being too crunchy. Yeah, for years, I mean, when I first started in Capture One, it was about contrast all the way out, as far as you could push it, really. And like desaturation, downloads. It's kind of the opposite now. I start every image by basically taking all the contrast out. And then building from there. I try to build contrast with color if I can. Sometimes you don't have the luxury of that. And just, yeah, working on the tones and the colors of each individual, like color profile on the HSL. And yeah, building from the base up. And then once you have that base and richness, which this preset pack gives you now, then you can just, yeah, slide the contrast slider easy if you want a bit or less contrast. And yeah, just white balance, playing with that, and contrast, playing with that, and exposure. It's just super simple. And then you can start getting really creative from there. And with the new Capture One presets, software, I'm also probably going to build in a little bit of a retouch thing in there as well as an option, just so I can show how I use those tools. Because I think tools like that often are used in like kind of a bad way. People like to go to 100% and like make things look a bit plastic and unreal, and yeah, just help people in a bit bigger way possible, basically. And like, everyone takes different pictures, so it's not gonna affect me. And yeah, I wish there was more things like this out there, because I went down the route of like trying a few of these presets in the past, and a lot of them were just not that great. because they were sold as that like one-click wonder, and like nothing is that. Like everything changes so rapidly, and I think I'll release a video kind of helping people to understand how to use these tools properly, but yeah, given a good base to kind of get the images into a nice fun image.
Thank you so much, man.
No, thank you, man. I've loved it. It's been great. Pleasure, my man. Thanks so much.